So, a lot of people claim that Jesus was created. I think I'm going to show you that Jesus was crucified because he claimed to be God. This is Deuteronomy. This is Deuteronomy 33:26. There is none like God. This is the God El, speaking of Yahweh himself, who rides through the heavens to your help, through the skies in his majesty. So this is one of several verses that talk about God riding on the clouds or in the heavens or in the skies. This particular act is strictly for God himself. Even outside the Bible, through other texts that worship Baal, Baal was given this particular action to himself only. So this is not necessarily just for the Bible. All deities are allowed to do this. This is their thing to do. However, we know that God is the true God. There are other little g gods, but God is the one that's doing this. But in the Bible, it is strictly for Yahweh himself. Here is Psalms 68, 32, and 33. O kingdoms of the earth, sing to God. This is Elohim. Sing praises to the Lord. This is Adonai. Selah. To him who rides in the heavens, the ancient heavens, behold, he sends out his voice, his mighty voice. See, again, this is the second verse that talks about El or Elohim or Adonai. God himself has this privilege of riding in the clouds. This is strictly for God himself. Here is Psalms 104, couple of verses. Blessed the Lord, this is Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, O my soul. O Lord, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, my God, and the God here is Elohim. So the Lord, my Elohim, you are very great. You are clothed with the splendor and majesty, covering yourself with light as with a garment, stretching out the heavens like a tent. He lays the beam of his cherub on the water, his cherubs on the water. He makes the clouds his chariots. He rides on the wind, on the wings of the wind. Again, here, this is a illustration of God riding the clouds on a chariot in the wind, right? So this is strictly for God himself. Stick with me. I'm going to make a point at the end. And these are also in order in the Bible as they go through, as they progress. I find that interesting because I think that makes a point also. But just let's go to the next one. Here's Isaiah 19, verses 1, a couple of verses, I do believe. An oracle concerning Egypt. Behold, the Lord is riding on a swift cloud and coming to Egypt, and the idols of Egypt will tremble at his presence, and the heart of the Egyptians will melt within them. Again, this is painting a picture that Elohim, God, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, is the one that's riding the clouds. I can't stress it enough that this is strictly for deities only in the Bible. I'm sorry, in every writings. In the Bible, it is strictly talking about one deity, and that is Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. The next one is going to be extremely interesting. Here is Daniel 7, 13, and 14. I saw in a night vision, this is Daniel talking, and behold, with the clouds of heaven there came one like a son of man. And he came to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him, a son of man, riding on the clouds, and presented and came to the Ancients of Days. Why is this so important? Well, because first of all, the cloud rider, if you will, is strictly God himself. No one else is given this action. They're not allowed to do this. This is strictly for God himself. Only God himself. Now let's move all the way to the New Testament. This is Matthew 26:33. But Jesus remained silent, and the high priest said to him, I adjure you, by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus said to him, "You have said so." This is a way of saying yes. In English, we would say yes. Jesus is saying yes, and he answers them yes. Then he goes on to tell them something, and this is very important. "But I tell you, from now on, you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power and coming on the clouds of heaven." Remember, this is the clouds of heaven. Riding on the clouds of heaven is strictly for the deity, God himself, Yod He Vav He, period. No one else is given this right. People can come with God himself, like we will come back with Jesus on the clouds, but this action is strictly for the deity, Jesus, or Yahweh himself, Yod He Vav He himself. And the high priest knew this. And this is why 65, verse 65 is so important. "Then the high priest tore his robe and said, 'He has uttered blasphemy. What further witnesses do we need? You have heard his blasphemy.'" Why would they say Jesus was blaspheming? That's because Jesus was claiming to be the cloud rider. Who's the cloud rider? Yod He Vav He. Jesus is Yod He Vav He. Jesus is God.